Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel's Strike Force. Now, this one's going to be a little bit of a mixture between some data mines regarding Dark Dimension 8 and also talking about the Dark Dimension 8 Planner that went live yesterday, I think. And we're going to use this video to talk about what my top picks are for DD8, but also to give people a little bit of a heads up about what's coming and how quickly that DD8 is going to be coming. I think that it's going to be very important for people to understand. I believe, basically, that you should be getting ready for it now because it's just around the bend, and there is going to be an event milestone that is going to be related to it, which is actually this is brand new, because they're doing a lot of trying new things, right? And it looks like that they're going to be rewarding, red stars for Odin through this next event. But if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down and find out. So let's start here with the data mines on the Discord server, of course. So we'll just go. I mean, this is not any surprise, but basically Nimrod is the next character to come through for the Orca Sea. That one's not very surprising. There's going to be a milestone, of course, called Nimrod's Calculation, which is just opening his orb. But as far as Dark Dimension 8 goes, there's this new one that came up today called the Race to Valhalla. Now, there was an identical post that I didn't put in here, but it was also called Race to Odin. Like, there was like basically two of the exact same event, just with a different name. It was like Race to Valhalla or Race to Odin, but the text in the block here was exactly the same, so I didn't double post it. Get ready for get red stars for Odin. Commander DD8 is here. Race to Valhalla milestone. Complete Dark Dimension 8 nodes to earn progress and receive Crimson Mystic Gear, T3 ISO 8, and red stars for Odin. So this isn't to say that the nodes will have this, it's saying that the milestone will have this. So as far as what kind of rewards are on the nodes themselves, we still don't know. The map isn't out, and there's nothing in JSON. There's no JSON file out yet, as far as I'm aware, and those JSONs don't actually show it anyway. So, and on top of some of this stuff as well, you're also going to be getting ciphers and Sentinel Transcendence orbs. Now, these orbs here are actually the orbs for Omega Sentinel. So for that reason, I think that as far as a release date for Dark Dimension 8, I think we might be looking at something like, I'm thinking Monday, September the 16th, or it could be like Friday, September the 20th, because we know that Nimrod is going to be coming out pretty soon, probably next week at some point, but then that means it would have to be like the week after, late the week after, as far as when Omega Sentinel's orbs is available. This is, I believe, the crappy orbs, right? It's like the ones equivalent to the Sentinel one right now. So I think that as far as, since those are rewards in the milestone, that's what I'm thinking as far as a date. So sometime between Monday the 16th and Friday the 20th, it very well could be Monday the 23rd. That's what I would say is the latest as far as the launch of Dark Dimension 8 and this milestone. You're going to get points from earning one Raven. That's like the points that they're using for their system. I assume that this is just every node you clear, you're going to get progress along this milestone, and then you're going to get more points towards, the more red stars, I suppose. And I guess that I'm just assuming here that the end goal is likely a 5 red Odin for clearing Dark Dimension 8. Maybe they'll give you more. Maybe you'll be able to get like a 7 yellow, 7 red Odin by the end of Dark Dimension 8. If you're one of those people who are like ready out of the gate, that would be insane. Because I'm just, thinking here, brainstorming that Mephisto was 5 red maximum. So I wouldn't think that they're going to give you more than a 5 red through this milestone. I think it would be absolutely insane if they do, but anything's possible, right? For them to encourage more spending. And then I think this is the same actually. Oh, this is just confirmation about the sections of the nodes. And this is going to be really important because it's City Villain, City Hero, Global Hero, and Global Villain, and then Cosmic and Legendary, the way that is posted in the data mines here. And why this matters actually is because on the roster, on the DD8 planner, it does show it that Global Villain is before Global Hero. So these two, there have been 2 indications now that Global Hero is before Global Villain, but the planner shows Global Villain first. So I don't know which is right until we actually see the map. But, as far as putting your ISO in right away, I would be cautious about that point. If you've already done your city stuff, that's fine. Or if you're on your way to doing that, but the global stuff could be in flux. But let's take a look at that anyways. All right, and this brings us to the DD8 Planner, which you can find on, of course, Dark Dimension, the Dark Dimension Planner tab on the MSF DD8.gg website. And we're going to go through what my current picks are. This obviously will change like every 2 months or so, when the major meta shifts happen. Sometimes this happens, I guess, every patch if they make a brand new team. But I want to talk about the realistic options right now. And at least I think for a lot of people, the city stuff is kind of set in stone. Unfortunately, the city villain section will most likely be the worst. Every Dark Dimension has their worst section. Dark Dimension 7, it was global, and I think in Dark Dimension 8, it's going to be city villain. So I am using a Sinister 6 kind of heavy grouping. In this case, I'm using 2 Superior 6 members with Craven and Lizard. I am not using Spider Slayer. And then I'm using Mysterio and Vulture. Mysterio has really good control when it comes to their abilities with this, the Superior 6 extra tags, with the AoE blind and things like that. It's really, really good. Now, you do not need these characters. I'm going to say currently at Gear Tier 19. They said it's not happening. If you might be confused because sometimes it does show the planner does show red gear in here. Apparently, that's just a recommendation. That's how hard it's going to be. As far as my 5th character, I did decide to go with Red Goblin. That's because I didn't feel any of the other characters kind of function very well standalone. But that's just my thoughts there. We can kind of take a look at some of the other city villain characters. And it's not great, right? Like the options are not great. So either I go with someone else from Hive Mind, right? Carnage or Venom. I could do another Sinister 6 character, but realistically, I don't want to. And I'd rather have Red Goblin for the little bit of extra support that they have than use someone like Kingpin or Spider Slayer. Actually, someone in my Discord was talking about Kingpin, but that's just not for me. So the other options just do not look great. And I think that there's very little flexibility right now. I think in the future, there probably will be some city villain characters, maybe into 2025. But at this point, I think that this is probably all we're going to be getting. As far as City Hero goes, I think this part is a no-brainer, right? Spider Society are truly amazing. There are going to be some maybe future options, such as Moon Knight within a month's time, who you might be able to throw in there instead of, say, someone like Spider-Man Noir or Ghost Spider. That's possible that you might want, if you want to do that, but I'm just going to go for the tried and true full synergy. Spider Society is an amazing team. There are other options. Like I said, if we take a look at City Hero, I mean, there's not a lot, to be honest, so it's really entirely up to you. Other characters would include like Gwenom and Robbie, I suppose, but as far as a contained, synergized team unit, Spider Society is great, and I think there's no reason to break that up. That's just my thoughts there. Now, let's talk about global villain. Now, for me personally, I'm including APOC. I think that's also kind of a no-brainer a little bit. I don't know if the nodes are going to be tailored to having him. It's a good possibility that it is. And then I'm deciding to do the 4 Orcus characters without Omega Sentinel. So I think that by the time that I'm ready to do this, I will have Nimrod. That's because I'm coring. So for other people, we'll talk about the other options that you can do that. I think Lady Deathstrike, given the fact that her stats are insane, I think can be used in pretty much any scenario there. I think that's a great choice anyway. So APOC and Lady Deathstrike are for sure in. But because I'm doing more heavy into Orcus, that's why I'm also doing Scientist Supreme and the other 2. As far as your other options go, Cabal is obviously an option, which is a 3-man team. So that also allows you to use Apocalypse or Lady Deathstrike in there. After that, though, it's kind of sketch. Depending on when you're going in, there's like Agatha, but that would be a standalone inclusion, right? And so it depends on whether or not her rework's any good, or I don't know. In the current setup, I don't know if she would give much synergy or even do much as far as long-term viability, but her stats will be huge, like Lady Deathstrike, so that's something, I suppose. So it is an option, I guess. But other than that, I would say it's probably just Cabal, realistically. I don't want to recommend too many other characters. I guess you could use Ares. Is that going to be... I heard bad things about Ares, so I'm not sure... Beyond that, what's really that relevant? Orcus and Cabal are probably it, with maybe Agatha sliding in if you so wish. Otherwise, let me know if you feel like there's someone that I'm missing, but I just don't think it's really worth mentioning anyone else, but that's just me. And as far as Global Hero goes, I still think that I think this is probably the best move, because I think that Orcus Raid 2, or whatever they do, like the next major raid, I think will actually require purple ISO, and I think at that point we'll start to be farming purple ISO as well. And it may not be like purple ISO 3, required to get into these rates. I mean, maybe it could by the final difficulty, but I think it wouldn't be strange or wouldn't be unusual to have like a purple 1 or purple 2 block somewhere in there, because I don't think it's that hard. I think purple ISO 2 at this point is pretty easy, in my opinion. Purple ISO 3, however, is a lot harder because it's 5 times the cost of purple 2. And we're going to take a look at some of the numbers after we talk about this as well. So Extreme X-Men being still the rating that we're probably going to be using for the next 6 months. I do really like Hank Pym. I like his synergy with hero characters. I think his kit is really nice. So that's something that I'll be doing personally with the 4 Extreme X-Men. As far as your other choices for Global Hero, I mean, there are a lot of characters, so there are other alternatives. If you're a spender, you could do something that's more Illuminati heavy, but I do believe that they're quite, they're mixed, right? Not all of them are global. Black Bolt is cosmic, and so is Mr. Fantastic. So really, you're just using Shuri and Captain Britain and Hank Pym, and so you'd have to use some other characters. Black Knight, I feel like it's not really worth it at this point in time. And beyond Illuminati and Black Knight, like there's not any real good standouts in my opinion, although it is possible that some of the characters from Night Stalkers will be Global Hero. It's possible that Karen or Oath, I think is the name that they decide to use, and Man Thing very well could be Global Hero. So those could be potential options in about like over a month's time, or in the free-to-play turns after we've seen the news, right? It could be like 2+ months at this point. But this is kind of where it sits right now and what I'm comfortable raising, because I'm pretty sure I'm still going to be using Extreme X-Men in the next major Orcus raid. So I don't feel bad about putting ISO into them personally. Now, as far as the Legendary and Cosmic goes, this is also somewhat flexible. I'm not quite solid on all of this, but I am going to be using Mephisto and Old Man Logan and Gladiator. I'm very happy with Gladiator personally. I'm actually not happy with Gore. I don't know why Gore was in there. I'm not that happy with Gore personally, but I am happy with Ultimus. So I actually like that. I'd probably include Thanos Endgame just because of the exposed mechanic. The other option obviously is you could say drop Mephisto, sorry, not Mephisto, drop Ultimus and put in Super Skrull if you so wish. Because if you use a combination, where is Thanos? If you use the combination of Thanos and Super Skrull, that's a lot of exposed, and it'll trigger Thanos' exposed mechanic to give energy to your other characters on your team. And I think that part is really good. I will not be using much more characters beyond that. Unfortunately, though, I have already put ISOs into Ultimus, so I mean, that's probably why I'm going to end up going with something like this, because I've already put ISO 2 into most, if not all, of these characters here. I did not put into Gore though, so that's not something Gore still hits like a wet noodle in my opinion, so I think I'll probably take a pass on him. As far as other characters, I think there's more than enough to choose from though, so I don't think I really need to tell you what to take into this, because I think Cosmic Legendary is broad enough that if you want to do something off the beaten track, Skrull is the only other member I would add in there. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with this. I would just maybe trade out Ultimus for Super Skrull. And I think you got a pretty good team. I think I think Gladiator is really strong. And while there is some people disagree about the relevancy of Thanos Endgame, I do think that his exposed mechanic in the dark dimension sort of sense is very strong. And Old Man Logan probably might carry it, unless there's going to be Gores on every single node, and then they're going to do something to counter it. So this is obviously without me knowing the nodes, but I think this is a pretty solid setup anyways. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is the requirements total for ISO crystals. You guys may have seen this. I've brought this up before. This is my purple ISO crystal table. And essentially the amount of ions, purple ions that you need to get all 25 characters up to purple 3 is 9 million. It is a fair bit, right? And a lot of this comes from purple ISO 3. Like it costs like about 4 times as much to go from ISO 2 to ISO 3. The total cost is 360k for one character to purple 3. But to get to purple 2, it's only about 72.3k. So that's pretty cheap. It's just that extra to purple 3 is where that jump's going to take place, and where that's going to cost a whole lot more. So what I'm recommending and what I'm doing right now is I am using my leftover radioactive treats for the next 8 or 9 days here solely on purchasing these ions. Now, I don't have a ton left over anyways, but the ones that I am doing, I am putting into ions, because I think that this is going to be the true bottleneck. It's not actually going to be the crystals. And the reason why I say that is because there are events such as Tolerance's Extinction. For those of you who are pushing in heavy alliances and in endgame kind of alliances, they do have a lot of ISO orbs in them. If you're able to get to milestone 17 and 18, that's 20 purple ISO orbs right here. And this same event is actually repeating next week as well. So that could be another 20 purple ISO orbs. And so I don't think that the crystals are actually going to be the bottleneck. I think it's going to be these ions. And actually, I'm really hoping that our alliance can get to 19. I don't really mind about 20, but I hope we can get to 19 because 500,000 ions is a lot towards that, right? Because that total that we need, which is 9 million, I think that people are going to hit the total crystal requirements before they actually get to the ion requirements. And unfortunately, the DD8 planner doesn't really show what you need as far as ions. I added this all up like yesterday, and I think I'm somewhere around 450 crystals away from my goal for DD8. But I think that I'm going to be lacking a lot more ions than crystals in the long term. That's just my thoughts because I think I still need like 6 million ions. So I'm like a third way there for ions, but I think I'm over halfway there on crystals. So there is like a balancing act that needs to happen here. And I think personally that is going to be more of an issue when it comes to ions. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. And hopefully this helped you guys and also to prepare for the event that's going to be coming next week with them, or sorry, not next week, the DD8 event milestone that's going to be happening. And so, if you can prepare yourself in advance for this, even if you're only doing, say, City Villain or City Villain and City Hero, you're still going to get some progress towards DD8 in general and possibly Odin Red Stars by doing some of these early nodes. So that's going to be it for now, everyone. And of course, until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.